Okay, it is time for my second monthly reading wrap-up of this channel. April. It's been a long month for me personally. And some of these books, it feels like I read them forever ago. So in general, I have like a little disclaimer right here. I don't think I'm good at explaining a book's plot, and some of these don't necessarily have like a specific plot, I think. So I'm just gonna basically tell you if I like them or not. Is that really of any interest to you? You gotta decide for yourself. Okay, starting off with an Agatha Christie one. If you've watched my March reading wrap-up, you've seen this before, because I started this on like the 30th of March, so like the last couple of days of March I started reading this, but of course that means that the majority of this I've read in April, and it is the Spanish version of Death on the Nile, a classic. I mean, any Agatha Christie book is a classic, but this is one of the best known of her books, and yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. It was the first time me reading it. I mean, I've seen movie adaptations of it, and I'm really looking forward to like the new adaptation by Kenneth Branagh coming up this, well, autumn. I think it's supposed to come out in like October. It was supposed to come out October 2020, but got postponed. But anyways, so yeah, iconic murder mystery taking place on the Nile, if you couldn't tell by the title. Yeah, I really liked it. That's like my thing right now. I read not all of, but I read a lot of Agatha Christie, Miss Marple, or Hercule Poirot, or with other of her characters, books in Spanish. It's my new thing. Okay, so started the month with that. Then I moved on to The Vanishing Hub. I actually have a separate reading blog for this, in which I already like summarized the plot a bit and express my opinion, my feelings. Generally speaking, I have like this kind of genre, I don't even know what to call it. It's not my cup of tea generally. I would call this like adult fiction, but like realistic adult fiction, as in like it's like a fictional plotline, but it's just about real life basically. And often I find in these books, and I probably got the genre name wrong. I don't know if there is a specific genre name for this, but yeah, it's not my expertise, so I don't really even know how to call it. Generally, I find with these books, there isn't even a specific plot line often, because, you know, like with murder mysteries like this, there's a murder happening, and the book is about solving that murder, and once the murder is solved, the book ends, because that's the story. But like with these adult fiction, real life kind of thingies, often like you get dropped in the middle of someone's life and you like accompany them for like a couple of whatever it is, days, weeks, months, years, and then at some point the book stops. But often like the whatever like issues they had in their life, they're most often not resolved, because that's not what real life is like, so that's also not what these books are like. But that's why I don't know, how could I even describe this book? So it's about twin sisters that like up until they were, I think they run away when they're like 16. They're like inseparable, but then they run away and they, well, separate, or like one of them leaves the other basically because she wants to start her own life. And it's also interconnected with topics of race and ethnicity. And then the book is about how like decades later, their lives become intertwined again through the generation of their daughters. So it's like a multi-generation story, and there are like different parts to this book, and they're written out of like different perspectives and stuff. So like I enjoyed it. As I said, it's not my favorite genre. Like I love detective stories like this, etc. So this like adult fiction where there often isn't even that much of a plot, it's like a hit or miss for me. I haven't read too many of those books, though I'm branching out now that I have also like this booktube segment of my channel. So I don't just want to read like my detective fiction. I think that would be boring for, I don't know, everyone. And also like of course I want to expand my horizons, and I'm willing to do so, but yeah, I think in my reading vlog I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5 stars, as in like solid, good, not like my favorite read of all time, but yeah, was okay. Okay, that's all I've got to say about this. Moving on to a dark academia novel. I assume you're familiar with like these concepts of these book or like general aesthetics, dark academia being one of them. I read If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. You can actually see that my copy is pretty busted because the very cruel man that is like the parcel delivery person squished this into like the post thingy, and the package was too big, so we had to surgically remove this, and yeah, it got torn up in the process. But I mean, of course, I kept it and it was still perfectly legible. Anyways, this was very much up my alley. It is a story. It is also a murder mystery, but I mean, yeah, the storyline revolves around this murder, and yet it is not like a murder mystery as in like a Agatha Christie novel would be a murder mystery. So I'm bad at explaining plots, okay? I'm sorry. So this takes place in like a fancy college, university kind of situation. I think like in New England. I don't know exactly where it is. I don't know if it's mentioned, but I imagined it to be like someplace in New England. And it's about these, what are they, 5 or 6 or 7 friends, and they're all graduates, or like they're in the last year of their like theater program, because it's like a college based on fine arts basically. So this book involves a lot of Shakespeare, because they're not just like studying theater, they're basically studying Shakespeare, and like in their last year it revolves around Shakespeare's tragedies. So they also act out a few of his plays during the year. So this, oh shit, I should have said that from the beginning. It is told in retrospective. So in the very first chapter, we learn that the main character is being released from prison after like having been sentenced for like I think 10 years, and like at the end of his 10-year sentence he's being released, and he goes back to this college where this murder took place, and he basically takes the detective that was in charge back then, like he goes with him, like this detective, he's not a detective any longer, and so he asks him like, can you please like tell me what happened back then, because I know you did not kill this guy that died. You were convicted for the murder, but I know you didn't do it, so please tell me what happened. So the entire story is being told in retrospective. And yeah, I really like this. Like Shakespeare is up my alley. I like my murder mysteries. I like this whole college, university setting. So I really like this. Just one thing. On the literal last page, maybe like even in the last paragraph, something is being hinted at, and I need to talk to someone if I got it right, because I don't know anyone in person who has read this, so I didn't have anyone to talk to this about with. So I don't know if what I think is being insinuated is actually being insinuated, and I would like to talk to this about someone, to talk about this with someone. If you're that person, comment down below, because did I get this right? I think I did, but it wouldn't really make any sense. But yeah, so this kind of left me not like on a cliffhanger, but in kind of a like, what? Say what? Did I get this right kind of thing? So yeah, maybe you can help me out. Okay, moving on to a classic that is a Victorian novel by Wilkie Collins. It's called The Law and the Lady. It's not a reading vlog I have up for this, but in one of my videos I started reading this. Anyways, in the park. So yeah, Wilkie Collins, a Victorian author. He's kind of like the father, or he's said to be like the father of the detective mystery genre, I think, at least. And that being like my favorite genre, I have read some of his books. Actually, this month alone, I read 2 of his books, but I've read other ones of his too. So yeah, this is also like some kind of murder mystery. It is about our main character. Wait, I think her name is it Valerie? I want to say it's Valerie. Maybe it's not, but our main girl, like in the very first chapter, she's getting married, and then like in the second chapter, basically, like on her honeymoon, so they've only been like married for like a week, she finds out that her husband is not who he said he is. As in, like, she finds out that his name is not his name, and she's like, babe, what's going on? So she finds out that in his past life, he has been involved in like a murder, as in his first wife got poisoned, and he did not get convicted for this poisoning, but he was it's like called a Scotch verdict. I don't know if that's really a thing, but in the book it's a thing, as in like he didn't get convicted for the murder, but he also did not get completely spoken free of it. So like the verdict was basically that because there was not enough evidence, we can't convict you, but we're also not completely saying that you're innocent. But so he didn't have to go to prison or anything, or like back in the day, he would have gotten hanged or killed, I think, for killing someone else. But like, so there's this big mystery in his past that he did not talk about. And when she finds out, he leaves her because he's like, that's like the biggest shame of my life, being like involved in that like murder of my first wife and never being like spoken free of it. So now I have to leave you because I couldn't face the shame of like facing you because you know this now. I don't know, it's like kind of confused, and she's also like, what the fuck? She does not say that. I mean, this is like a Victorian novel, whatever. And so she is resolved to solve this murder, to actually find the real murder that poisoned his first wife, because she wants to prove her husband's innocence so he can come back to her and she can live her life with him. I don't know, it maybe doesn't sound all that interesting, but yeah, I enjoyed it. Okie dokie, moving on. Gosh, we're already at 12-minute mark, but we're moving on fine though. So after my first Wilkie Collins of the month, I read this beautiful book, If I Had Your Face by Frances Cha. I am not going to talk about this book right here though, because I want to include this in an upcoming book-related video, and I'm going to talk about it then. And if you want to hear about this book and what I thought about it, well, look out for that video. It's coming at some point in May, so look out for it. But check out this cover. Isn't she a beauty? Okay. Then afterwards, I read another Wilkie Collins movie. I read another movie. Yeah, right. I read another of Wilkie Collins' novels, The Moonstone. That is the first Wilkie Collins novel I've ever read. I read it a couple of years back, and it was also The Moonstone. Yeah, I just mentioned that, I think. And now I reread it, and I actually could not completely remember like the plot line, so it was kind of like reading it for the first time again, because I didn't know who did it anymore. Because this is also, is it about murder? No. Ah, well, someone dies at like the end, but it's not about the murder, it's about the Moonstone, a famous jewel, and it's kind of supposed to be cursed, but this is not a supernatural story. But it's about this jewel being stolen, and that like it's being gifted to this girl by her uncle, but her uncle doesn't really like her mother or her, so everyone's like, why is he giving me this priceless jewel? And then the jewel gets stolen the night she received it for her birthday. And yeah, there are a lot of implications, etc. And I mean, this looks like a small and dainty book, but it's like 700 pages long, of course, because of the format. That, yeah, like in general with these Victorian novels, even though they're like, Wilkie Collins is very easy to read, so it's not like, I don't know, it's not hard to read, it's very intelligible, but it still somehow always takes a bit longer to read classics than to read like a modern day book, such as, I don't know, this for example. But yeah, it's another classic. I really like it. If you're into like this detective mystery solving genre and you don't mind a classic, I can recommend it to you. Okay, moving on. So the next two books that I read this month are actually classics as well. This is gonna sound like I'm like this classics fiend, and I don't mind classics at all, but maybe like this month is also not quite representative because I also read other stuff, but like this month was just a lot. Because the next two books I read were Romeo and Juliet and Macbeth by Shakespeare. Look at this version. Isn't it cool? I really like the cover. So I mentioned before when I was talking about if we were villains, I don't mind me a Shakespeare. I've actually read Shakespeare just for like my own enjoyment. But these two I actually read for a class I'm taking this semester. It's a lecture on Shakespeare, and we've been asked to read these for like the next couple of sessions coming up. And of course, like in general, like in with lectures, if they ask you like to read plays or entire books, etc., it's kind of like up to you if you really do it. But because I really like Shakespeare, I actually did it. So that's also like a warning for like the future, like the June monthly reading wrap-up video coming up. Will probably also include some more of Shakespeare's plays because I'm gonna read some more for that lecture. But I don't think I have to summarize the plots of these, like especially Romeo and Juliet is very well known. So yeah, I'm not gonna like summarize the plots right now, but I enjoyed them both. Like Romeo and Juliet was actually honestly fairly easy to read. Macbeth was a bit harder to understand, but it had a lot of annotations. Wait, I can show you. It had like the actual play on one side, and all of these are annotations that also like help you to understand what's going on, right? But yeah, they helped loads, and I did understand what was going on in the end. So yeah, that was that. And now, last but certainly not least, the book that I'm still reading right now, it's the 1st of May right now, so I'm gonna finish this today or like tomorrow, and it is, ta-da, Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. First of all, this cover is stunning. I can't wait. I want to include this book in like this shelf right here. It's got like a yellow red vibe going on anyway, so like this orange cover, it will look gorgeous in there. It looks gorgeous on its own, but it's gonna be looking especially nice on that shelf. Anyways, so I'm still reading this, so I cannot yet give like a full summary of it. Not that I have been giving summaries of any of these books really. It's my first Ishiguro novel, and yeah, I like it so far. I'm like halfway through at this point. It's about an AI, so an artificial intelligence, though in this book they're called AF, though I don't really know what it's supposed to stand for actually. And her name is Klara, and like these AFs in the novel, they are solar, what's the word? Solar powered. So the sun is like their nourishment, she always called it. Like this book is also like divided into parts, and like the first part I think was just like her being in her store looking at the outside world, but she's never been outside, and she's like very attentive and very curious about everything that's going on and about all the people. And then this girl comes in, or like she's been seeing this girl a couple of times, like from the shop window, and like they've been talking a bit, and this girl was already like, I want you to be my AF, because in this world, in this futuristic world, like AFs are kind of like companions for children, maybe also like some kind of like nanny person. And so yeah, she gets picked out and picked up by this girl. Her name is Josie, and she then starts to live with her and like be her companion, be her like best friend, etc. And like so far the book, like wait, I'm right here at this point, so pretty much halfway through. So far this book was, well, basically about her learning more about like how people interact with each other, how the world really works, etc. Also like Josie, so the kid that is like her owner now, like the kid she takes care of basically. She has like a sickness, and I think it's maybe gonna take a bigger place in the further plot of this novel. I'm not quite sure. But that's also kind of like part of the plot. I don't know. Again, this is like a book, even though I would not necessarily call it like one of these adult fiction books, but it's my like more of a, well, sci-fi book in a sense, like with all the AIs and stuff. But again, I'm not sure if this has a whole lot of a plot, if you know what I'm saying. Like maybe in like the second half of the book, like some big thing is gonna happen, and then it's gonna be about that big thing happening. But maybe the rest of this book is also just gonna be about like her, Klara, learning about the world. And that would be fine. Like I actually like it so far, and I especially like the cover. I mean, I did not just pick this up for the cover. I picked this up because my favorite book YouTuber, her name is Carrie Cakes, and like her book YouTube channel is called Carrie Can Read. She talked about this video and this book, and I saw the cover and was like, shit, that's gorgeous. So, and yeah, as I told, I'm trying to branch out of my detective novel bubble and like read some of these like adult books, whatever. And so I picked this up, and yeah, it reads nicely so far, but I can't really say a whole lot about it yet. I feel like, even though I'm already halfway through. But anyway, so wait, let me grab all of these. Wait, and now to top it off. So these right here are all the books I read this month. Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!